Hi, and welcome back to the Collective Council on World Peace. Today is part two in attempting to call Dirty Jesus. Dirty Jesus is someone who runs a YouTube call-in show where topics of modern spirituality are addressed, and it just seemed natural that Dirty Jesus would have something to say about world peace. And so without further ado, about to call Dirty Jesus himself.
Hello.
Hi, is this Dirty Jesus?
It is Dirty Jesus. It is Dirty Jesus. Is this the capsule? Do you mind if I stream this as well? Can we tag team stream?
Please, stream.
Okay.
Everyone should be streaming.
I feel that. I feel if we're not streaming, we're potentially thinking up war.
Exactly.
To engage.
Yes. Stream YouTube, not war.
I don't know. Go ahead.
I was just doing a little bit of an intro, and I was thinking, like, are you the Son of God? Like, is that what's happening? Is that sort of how you see yourself?
Is this how I see myself? I see myself as a really good impersonator. Like, I think whether or not I am the Son of God or the Son of God, or however many ways down the chain you want to go, I think my curiosity and my exploration into world peace is the question of, is it relevant? Is it relevant to want to propose that perhaps a person of peace has returned to the earth with great, like, iconographical significance, and
yes.
and how long will it be until I am crucified? Because, like, it's been a while. I'm not sure. I haven't upset enough people yet, I think.
Yeah. No. I'm, like, really interested by this. Yeah.
So I think I could be. I'm trying to be. Like, every day I try to be a better Dirty Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, I try to clean more often, or I try to just sort of expel those natural feelings of angst and frustration and contempt and thinking everyone around me is a terrorist, because I'm starting to get a little paranoid. I feel like everyone's a terrorist. And if everyone's a terrorist, we could all stop. We could all choose to stop. So I feel like we all have a little terrorist inside of us. So Dirty Jesus is just trying to more openly represent that, but also, have the broader intentions that we could possibly all start harming one another, and we don't know what that would look like. Like, in your experience in world peace,
yes.
What challenges have you faced in sort of exploring the question?
So it's interesting. People will surprise me by actually being open to the conversation. When you're just calling random phone numbers, you never know what to expect. But then sometimes calling random phone numbers leads to getting access to people while they're at work. And it's while people are at work that they specifically have no time to discuss the subject of world peace. And it seems to be a question that is threatening to penetrate, like, what is their work reality and their life reality, and that they are sort of saying that they're not allowed to address it because they're at work. That's sort of the excuse. But I wonder, like, in any other context, if they would even allow it to be a question to them.
Yeah, I like the guy you spoke to yesterday. He paused and he was like, "That's a big question," and he gave a really, not terribly optimistic towards the prospect of world peace, but he gave that really good answer about finding peace inside. Mm-hmm. And so it seems like if people are actually willing to stop, I don't know, maybe you should flirt with any, like, just gender neutral. You should just maybe be more seductive at the start of the phone call to let them know that maybe accidentally, like, they've won something.
Yeah.
And then I'm just trying to think of a way, just because
Like a way in.
the way you ask unless you're intending to sort of have them be destabilized, I wonder if there's a way that you could sort of allure them so that you're like, what are you going to say next? And then you say world peace, and then they're perhaps I don't know, you just want to increase the likelihood that people will stop and think about that question, right? Not that there is an answer.
No, absolutely. That's a great point. Yeah, no, I've been trying to think about like ways to like switch up, and like ways to think about it as a performance. I was like, maybe I have to like dress up like one of those beauty contestants and really drive home the whole like sort of seeming absurdity of the idea of world peace and the way that people view it as the sort of vapid answer to like the like beauty contestants give to like what they would want to do to change the world, and like make it like and kind of like spoof that, but like make it a real question again. I don't know. My own process.
Mary Magdalene's a great character. If you wanted to play a character, Mary Magdalene.
Yeah. Oh, you think that like that should?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like sort of like be like the prostitute of peace, like over here, like really slut it up.
Yeah, we've done some deep research into Mary Magdalene, and it turns out she was probably definitely not a prostitute, but she was very likely Jesus's actual wife, and she was the most learned one of all of the apostles, but the men despised her because she was a woman, so they actually kept her out. But she was the wisest of all those who were near Jesus in the historical make-believe story that we are proposed to accept as spiritual reality.
And we have to like, you know, of course, repeat those stories. So that's a great suggestion or a great idea.
It's like we're co-opting them. We're co-opting them for mildly pornographic ends.
Yeah.
Is my, you know, because why not not totally pornographic, but just mildly, you know.
But like, what if I did do like a whole show where I was like calling, like live streaming, but I was topless and like trying to call people like to talk about world peace, like just like really like like went to that level. Just because.
Yeah, you probably have more. You probably have a couple more views.
Yeah, well, I think that like in some ways
I'm topless. I'm topless, and it doesn't seem to be working. So I don't know.
It's true, you are. That's funny. Yeah, so I mean, it's such a broad question. Like, I think that like when I ask people about like their ideas of world peace, like they're also like kind of taken aback because they're like, I don't even know where to begin. Like, it seems like such a like huge, overwhelming topic. And yet I imagine if I just asked them something about war, they would immediately be able to list people they want to fight, you know?
Yeah, or a list that other people have given and indoctrinated into their heads, right?
Right. So I'm like,
I don't know. I think your guy yesterday had it best. Like, it's good that you bring up world peace in the big, broad world concept because it's just too big for the human mind to think about. It's just way too expansive. But his recommendation was to look inside to find, if you find peace within yourself, then you're likely probably not extending the opposite of peace. You're likely not extending confrontational vibes.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Yeah, but it's like, how do you then exist in a world where people are not doing that around you? Like, how do you maintain peace? And like, how do you like affect peace in others?
And like, because people will go like, yeah, no, now I do have love in my heart, but there are all those terrorists out there. And it's like, well, wait a minute, where did you get, like, why do we have to have an enemy? And I've been digging through I'll just show it just to prove it, and I think all the weed is off of it. The Good News Bible, and it's a chronicle of war and of creating segmentations within groups and deciding that you have enemies, and then building this concept of a God who supposedly later is the Prince of Peace, but for the vast majority of the time was just a way that people justified their vicious human ways. We're just I believe, like, I wouldn't be live streaming on the internet if I didn't believe that we didn't have the potential to really find a way to stop being hate-filled. But man, like, we're good at it, apparently. We like to write stories about it.
Yeah. I mean, like, inherent in all of this is, like, what is, like, human nature, right? Like, are we, like, intrinsically evil and, like, vicious? Like, is peace a luxury?
Yeah, would you mind repeating what you said for the last 10 seconds? Because my computer and I had a little situation.
Yeah, for sure. No, like inherent in like all this conversation is like what is like human nature? Like, are we inherently like these vicious, like ruthless, like part of nature, like no mercy, like just kill to survive sort of creatures? And like, is the idea of peace like even just something that's like a luxury to those who can like afford to not have to fight to survive or something?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Just I try to not get lost in that
Right.
in that survivalist mindset too much. You know, what just popped in my head, and like I don't know if it's like a good idea, but it's certainly I don't know if it's been tried yet. I think we should take a good large like population of people, but not just like some little shitty Philippines island. And by shitty, I don't mean shitty. I mean like I'm just going to remove that word. I didn't mean to say that about a Philippines island. Find like a city and dump a bunch of LSD into the water supply such that it is equally pretty well distributed amongst a large group of people, and then but not tell them, and then observe the way in which they both interact immediately thereafter, but then might do so like 1 to 2 months later. I think we have the drugs. We have the drugs to at least try it.
Didn't America do that to its own citizens, though? Like in the 60s, the MK Ultra experiments? Like,
well,
people were freaking out. I think MDMA is the way to go. I don't know if LSD. I think MDMA, because it's like guaranteed, like you're going to have a great time.
Well, here, from my knowledge, MK Ultra was pretty elitist. Like it was given to very specific doctors who spread it very liberally amongst their like high circles, and then secondarily the CIA got their hands on it and then started giving it to like each other and foreign diplomats and sneaking it on each other. Like I don't know if they tried it, but if they tried it, they were attempting to figure out if it could be used for mind control, not mind liberation.
Yeah.
So they had the exact wrong perspective when they even got the the sacred medicine, whatever like goofy hippies like to call it.
Yeah. Yeah, does it take a drug? Does it take a drug to get there? Like, is that what we like? Can we not do it without altered states? Or like chemically altered states?
Does it require 100 years of pharmaceutical exploration, which is really just an offshoot of like, biological terrorism, right? All our chemistry that we know that became pharma was just war.
I mean, like, I don't know if like that's like wrong. Like, I'm sure you're like probably familiar with like all these like theories about how when the Bible talks about manna from heaven, it's like actually talking about like mushrooms, and like all the like early peoples in the desert were like just getting high on mushrooms and sort of like hallucinating God, and like brought about like new ways of thinking and like new ways of like interacting culturally and like new types of civilizations. And so like, I mean, I'm not, I don't find the idea that like taking a drug to like, or any exposure to like new like things to like take into our bodies is like not what's needed. Like I totally believe like that could be what's needed to like get us there.
Because, well, the thing that's fascinating to me is like, let's assume that drugs, those sort of mushrooms and cacti and like whatever, all those variety of drugs were well around the world.
Yeah.
So probably everyone was taking them. So the thing that's more interesting to me is you have this amazing vision well on a drug, and then you decide to no longer on the drug, or maybe they were on more like amphetamine-based stuff when they were spreading the message of the religion that they concocted in their head.
Right.
It just seems weird to me that some people take that experience out of drug land and then push it forward, and I think that is definitely the way that we most of the religions, I think. So what about? I don't know.
I think that like what you're doing, like there's something that you said in one of your like really early videos that really stayed with me, where you said in reference to Trump that the only war he can't win is a holy war. And that is just like burned in my brain. And I feel like this sort of like lack of like spiritual discussion, or like fear of spiritual discussion, or like lack of language to talk about peace and all the things like related to spirituality in the West, like is exactly what's allowing things that are not peaceful and then like quite violent to be so like successful.
I think I think what I figured out that I am still really stuck on, like, it began with me being angry at Jesus because he said pay your taxes to the government, and to me paying taxes to the government just seems to like just give them more power and ruin the whole system. But I broke it away from taxes and I realized it's just numbers, like numbers of civilians killed, or number of money in your bank account, or number of your credit score, or whatever. But if I can change the foundation, so if I can make it not the chessboard that Trump knows how to play, but put it on the much more expansive spiritual board, where the numbers don't exist, where we're talking in manna and not in dollar bills.
Right.
But yeah, I'm also willing. I'm sincerely also willing to be his spiritual advisor. Like I am not above taking checks from Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And we can just like tap him on the shoulder and say like, can you think of, like, we'll play the game of ethics, and we'll say, like, what would an ethical person who wasn't you do in this situation? And then try to help him reconcile the two.
Yeah.
But he has a really big enemy complex. Like, all the worst, of all the reasonable Americans who think all the reasonable things about being a good person and sometimes fear terrorism, of all those people, he is just not only the base, but by just repeating the word. That's why the sermon I did, World War Peace, I did that for you because I realized we needed to take the word war out of the, like, I couldn't, it was really hard to think of peace without also thinking about war. So I was realizing, as you just mentioned about language, like how the power of language to maintain that story in our head that there still is terror. What if we all just decided there wasn't terror?
No, exactly. And
that's probably why we need the drugs, because we've got so many other drugs. It's not like we're in a non-drug state. We're in a sugar. We're in a caffeine. We're in a nicotine. We're in just all of that freneticism.
Totally.
So how else could we have a Gestalt shifting mind experience?
Totally.
I don't know, but
I actually feel like one of the biggest. Sorry to interrupt. I just like to touch on that really quickly.
Oh,
like,
I went. You didn't interrupt.
I really want to touch on this because it's like I'm in art school right now, and like I feel like one of the like biggest hurdles to getting to World War Peace is in some ways the aesthetics. Like I feel like people are kind of still like they think that things that Trump, for example, is doing are bad, but they're sort of afraid to like take up arms in like a like peaceful way because like right now like my background is like some doves, and it's like people wouldn't want to touch that in an art school context because it's not like sort of like cynical enough, or there's not enough sort of like winking like academic like references. It's just like it's too like on the nose, like just peace. Like I think there's a fear of people on the left to like adopt like peaceful images.
Hang on, is on the nose like even just like a metaphor of violence? Like you get hit on the nose?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm just realizing how like just like war-based thoughts or conflict-based thoughts like can tie into any conversation or anything that we're trying to explain.
No,
it's
totally.
Just so fucking pervasive. And you're getting, can't you just, I don't know, I probably could not succeed at art school because I would just constantly get so confused that there was this vague definition of artist.
Right.
Like, what?
No, I think you would do actually really well in art school. Like, I think that, you'd have a good time.
Oh, I'm sure. No. School's a party. I get that.
Yeah. Oh, no, I guess, like, it can be, but, like, I think you'd have a good time, like, kind of, like, messing with everybody's idea of, like, what an artist is supposed to be. And, like, pushing the boundaries of practice.
Well, here's a question for you then. Do you like the concept of psychological warfare? Like, do you like playing games with someone for, like, and them not realizing that you're slowly manipulating their psychology, and then but not be doing it to try to make the world a better place? Because I do that sometimes, and I would do that at art school.
No, I feel like I'm constantly engaged in psychological warfare, but I feel like that my engagement with it is like from a place of like honesty. Like I create for myself a rubric where I must speak honestly. Like I'm not, and try to achieve that as much as possible. Like I'm not going to lie to people. Like when someone shows me like a bunch of garbage on a table, like I feel like it's my duty to like say that's garbage on a table. Like I'm not going to dress it up in like flowery like language to try and like describe it in like a satisfying, artistically like ego patting on the back kind of way. You know?
Yeah.
So that to me is psychological warfare.
are you allowed to say to your class, you're like, that, this is my final project. Like everyone else is like resculpting Rodin or something, like doing really complex art things. And you're like, no, my art project is world peace. And every now and then I stand in front of my green screen and I turn on my internet and welcome to art.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Like, would that be faced with incredulity, or is that appropriate?
No, I mean, like, it would definitely face, like, critique, but people would be open to it as a practice. You know, like, in contemporary art, like, this sort of thing is, like, par for the course. Like, people do lots of, like, sort of socially engaged practice, like, in their work. Especially, like, this school has, sorry, go ahead.
Can you say, like, one of my art project is I'm not accepting your criticisms?
I
mean,
can
you just not... Like, I didn't come to art school to hear what you think about my stuff. I came to do my art. Like, you can fuck right off.
Well, that's inherently
improve what? Improve for what?
That's inherently a part of everything that I make. Like, I've written off a lot of the criticism I've gotten at this point. Like, where I'm just like, I realize that I can't get the things that I need from other people projecting their own stuff onto my work. Like, that's not ever going to get me. Listening to that isn't ever going to get me to where I want to be. So I just have to feel like trust in my own drives. Like, that's going to be the only thing that moves me forward, and not have to cater to anybody else. But that. But then I also feel like maybe that's that's dangerous thinking, because like I'm sure Trump sort of like feels the same way. He's like not going to cater to anybody else's critiques.
Yeah, I had to take I'm part of an MBA, and I had to take a negotiation class, and after class I was getting in fistfights with people because of how intense negotiation class had become, and like I really like that.
That's really
funny.
It just
there's a bombasticism to when ideas have a place to sort of percolate, and like I've just like totally upended. Well, like, can we have in a peaceful world? Can there be violence? Do you know what I mean? Like, rather than say world peace, let's jump in and make it the adjective. Let's say in a peaceful world, and then like you can say, can there be this? Like, we should probably start to more openly discuss what our world peace is going to look like, and it's going to come really soon. I think we all should, if we could disciple people, I think that's what the Collective Council and Dirty Jesus should combine to work on, is helping everyone realize, like giving them the agency to also, in their own way, ask the survey question about world peace, or just make sure the word is percolating more than it is now, and maybe it'll get closer to the number of times terrorism is said.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe that's. No. I think that's our.
That is exactly.
Disciples.
That's exactly it, because like it's just about repetition, I feel, and about like even like activating it as a question in people's minds, right? Like, no, you're right. Like, for a second, like, let's consider for a moment what world peace is, and is it even possible, and what does it look like? And I have to run, but I want to know your answer to that. If you have like a quick answer to that, like what do you, Dirty Jesus, envision when you think about world peace?
That is the actual question that you want me to answer right now?
I mean, like, that is, like, it's a two-part. I mean, like, it's, like, I agree with you, and then it's also, like, I'm putting it to you. Like, what do you envision when you envision world?
That's true. We did talk a lot around the actual simple survey question that you generally ask other people, didn't we? Mm-hmm. Probably most simply an environment where differences are celebrated without question. Where you don't look at someone and then see a reason to critique them, but just see a reason to celebrate them. And that's high-minded and a little bit like vague. But that is what immediately came out of my mouth, and it was like, if it wasn't a good answer, it was at least coherent.
Anything else? I mean, you can feel free to add on to it. Like, you don't have to be constrained by it.
Yeah, like maybe it's just because I never seemed to have any, because I didn't realize that I'd taken a vow of poverty, but I did. So just also because I get very agitated by money, and I think, just you said, people at work are like, oh, I can't do this. Like, everyone's in a very, like, they give so much of their lives to this thing that produces money that they then give away to the bank and give away to the government, and it's constantly locked in. Like, even people who make money are constantly worried about money, and then they're worried about their credit, this fake money system. Mm-hmm. World peace for me definitely needs to start in a post-capitalistic framework. I don't think we can If just if all capitalism is more. Capitalism is just people looking around going more, 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 and one group gets a lot more, and then the other groups get less more. So I think, and that as soon as one person has more and another person has less, and they both know it and they both buy into the ideology of money, then you have class warfare or class conflict. And you enjoy that people are different. You enjoy that people have less than you. Like capitalism requires you to get off on the lower class a little bit.
Yeah.
So it would have to be, yeah. So how are we going to end capitalism except with a lot of drugs?
Yeah, I feel like.
But then in a peaceful world, do we have to keep doing the drugs? People have great LSD trips, and then all of a sudden they're doing LSD too often, and it's like, well, what about that amazing experience you had, and they're chasing the dragon again? It's like, are humans all addicts? That's another question that I don't know the answer to. Like, what is it about this? What is it about this gorging that we do, even on good, on bad things? We don't care. We'll just gorge.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I sum up all of that, like even like the capitalist stuff about like, I think like an eradication of fear, like. To me, like conflict arises when people in any element of their life like think that they are somehow like have a lack of resources and like they're somehow like their livelihood or like their self in some way that they perceive is threatened. And so I think like it's about like a deep eradication of fear, like fear of each other, like fear for the self. And I just think that like fear is one of the bigger players that has to be addressed. And it's the thing that I think gets played up and allows anti-peace things to flourish.
But I think I see fear as just misunderstanding. Like fear is just something you decided to not, approach sufficiently cautiously, but also earnestly and openly. So that's why I would say like, instead of eradicate fear, like think about how eradicate and fear makes you a little bit edgy when you even say them.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why, like, celebrating difference. And again, I know it sounds a little hippie, but I think I can back a kitty. Hey, oh, sorry, get away from there. Sorry, I got disciple cats.
That's all good. I wish I had cats.
Who I yell at while I'm talking about peace. And there's the other kicker for me as Dirty Jesus. It's super relevant, and I wasn't able to explain this at the beginning, but it's like, is irony the best thing ever? And I think it is. Irony when you can constantly subvert yourself. Like I am trying really hard to be an impersonating Jesus. Mm-hmm. I talk about peace, but I yell at cats. Mm-hmm. My porn career is well on its way to starting.
Nice.
I'm in training.
Nice.
So like, why aren't I allowed to be a pornographic Jesus? Jesus really liked hanging out in all of the brothels.
No, totally.
He was a big brothel guy. He's very sex positive.
I fully support it. Yeah, like I'll do my broadcast topless, and then you can do yours like while simultaneously fucking. Like give your sermons like while like.
What is the? What do you mean we will simultaneously. Like, what will be happening simultaneously?
You'll be like fucking in like you'll like have somebody like I don't know like whoever like in your videos that you'll be like having sex with while you give your sermons. Just like deeply combine the pornography with the sermon into one.
Well, because at the very worst, I'm trying to do this honestly and earnestly, and also there's a lot of crappy porn out there. So if there was like, I'm not trying to upend the porn industry, but just if there was a couple porns that like everyone was really nice to one another, and they prayed at the beginning and at the end, like whatever, I don't care. And just like nice costume porn, like it might be good because you want to give the 8 to 10-year-olds who are like learning everything about sex. I think that's the other thing that's absolutely screwing everyone up is pornography. Bad pornography is like the ripples and negative impact that's going to have and difficulty that's going to make a peaceful world is probably the biggest problem right now for both males and females.
Interesting take. I mean, yeah, I haven't like thought about it enough to like really answer that, but yeah, that's interesting. Dirty Jesus, I have to run.
Can I smoke a joint? Can I smoke a joint while we're talking? Will that upset the internet?
Can we like part 2 this because I have to like run to a lunch meeting right now. There's a visiting artist.
Can we continue this later?
We can definitely continue this conversation. I've got like it has to be a different day because I have to like do like a teaching assistant for a class and everything like now, but like after the lunch meeting.
Did you just say like I have work obligations? I have a lunch meeting about work and I have work obligations. Are
Yeah.
you're just jumping off this conversation on world peace? Like I thought we'd go for 4 or 5 hours.
Oh no, okay, well we will, but like in segments. And the next time,
Okay.
please like smoke
because
the
you
joint.
have work obligations.
I'm like at
Because
school.
school is just preparation for work, right?
I'm at school right now.
I'm just teasing you.
learning-
I'm just teasing you.
I'm learning how to be a productive member of society while like using that time when I get the chance to subvert it. Anyway, thank you so much for being a part of this
Gotcha.
conversation. And we will continue it for sure. And like we will both have
Yeah.
like joints like ready to light like next time.
Well, we need to, and we need to think a lot about discipleship. So I think like before our next conversation, it should be like, it'll be a more pragmatic meeting. Because I think just like you have to have meetings for work, we should be having like peace meetings.
Totally.
Like fuck the UN. We have our like peace meetings.
Absolutely.
And then we just need to increase the number of people at the peace meetings and hope it doesn't turn into a big fight.
Yeah, no, I just want everyone to contribute their own like attempts at peace. You know, I want everyone to be working on this project together. All right.
Excellent. All right, I'm gonna read some Paradise Lost to my faithful viewers then.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Have a great afternoon, Dirty Jesus. Bye.
I will do.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, so that was conversation with Dirty Jesus, and it will definitely continue soon in the future, but I've got to run. Okay.